So when this meeting was getting organized, like when we were doing what sessions we will be including, I hope in the last 1.5 day you have witnessed different agendas or different points which we have been covering, and a lot of homework went in when we were planning the sessions and the potential speakers. Like we tried to get people who have been in colleges, in universities, at the research institutes, at IITs, at premier institutes, and the challenges that they have faced at different levels, and trying to come up with the possible solutions. And one of the important point was also to get somebody or some advice from the government agencies, from the management at the government level, who have been at the policy making and looking at the different scenarios of different funding mechanisms. A lot of suggestions were there during the speakers, and we thought it's good to have somebody from the government who could like kind of guide us and who could also shed some light that what are the endeavors from the government of India. And we are really thankful to Dr. S.K. Varshney from Department of Science and Technology who accepted our invitation. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time and being with us. I hope you have also witnessed some of the sessions in the morning that what all in the direction we are heading to. And Dr. Varshney has been at DST for last 8 years as the advisor and scientist G at Department of Science and Technology, where he has been looking at the bilateral cooperations between India and different foreign countries. And he has been at different committees of the DST. And today we requested him that if he could shed some light on how the government of India and especially DST, Department of Science and Technology, looking at the gender equality in science and engineering. And we really look forward to hearing from you, sir. So thank you so much. And the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dheeraj, for the brief introduction. And I would like to thank INYAS and IIT Gandhinagar to have invited me. I don't know how I was selected. No role. It takes two hands to clap, and you cannot clap with one hand. It's a very, very basic principle. And if you want to see how a society grow, it is very important that all stakeholders in that society are growing. You cannot expect somebody to dominate and somebody to be subservient. Okay. But in the society where we are growing up, it starts. And one of the young friends said, it all starts in our mind. And do you know when does it start? Even before you have come. Right over there are different kind of expectations from a future mother. And people are expecting if it would be a boy or if it would be a girl. And they start planning. Okay? And this planning makes sure that boys are boys and girls are girls. Okay? There are different set of colors for boys, different set of colors for the girls, different games for the girls, different games for the boys. Okay? Curfew rules, different for boy, different for girls. And we all have grown up in that reality. We should not be ashamed of. Okay? This is what we have grown up. And my young friend has already said that we have been poisoned to that extent that we have started believing that fair sex is not fair. Okay? And we need some good control. So we need a good amount of correction. Okay? And correction to what extent? Because it has deep penetrated. Someone whom we count as most successful, like the Bollywood industry, we know how the actor is being treated and how actress is being treated. They are not similar. Neither they are screen sharing. It is also not true. Their payment? No, no way. It is happening in most of the unorganized sectors. And it's not that it is happening only in India. Anywhere. So Bollywood could be replaced by Hollywood. You see these sports, any sport, you see how male players are treated, how female players are treated, and that all makes our thinking, our belief that two are different. Nature has not made it. Okay, for nature, all species are equal. You see any species of the nature, there are male counterpart, there are female counterpart. Man has been greedy. We wanted to win over the planet. Any species which we do not want, we would like to remove. For example, insects. We are not removing them away from us, we are killing them. Okay, because that is something we can do. We have won over each and every species on this earth, and now within our own species we are trying how it needs to be done. And this is where a correction is required. But I must tell you, correction starts from oneself. Government could only create guidelines. Government could only create mechanism. But until it comes from individuals, and each individual is responsible for that, you and I included. Okay, if I am dealing with someone, I need to give equal respect. And then only I could expect equal respect from the other fellow. Unless we start correcting ourselves, it would be very difficult that someone else will do it. No one else will do it. Okay? So what I am going to present to you in this scenario, something government has started. Many of you may be knowing about the various scheme of the government, which I am going to share. But I have made an effort to compile all of them together. Not all, but most of them. I may still be missing some. Maybe you can guide me to correct and take it further. And I would start rather early, because it is told in our childhood that you are different. As I showed you the picture also, right when you are young kids, you are differentiated. So I'll say how government have started. Oh, sorry. I think all of you might have seen these posters that it's a changing world, and now boys and girls should be treated equally. And there was a famous ad with this tag, which I have just tried to recall, that why should boys have all the fun and why not girls? So time has come, and this time we need to correct ourselves, and we should allow fun to be had by each one of us. And of course, if girls are changing, why not boys? Okay? Some boys still have a taboo. I'll not go to the kitchen, whether it is a boy or it's a man. Okay? I'll not sanitize my home. Why? It's equal word. If girls could go and do the jobs, driving the bus, running the train, flying the aeroplane, being a fighter pilot, why boys should not change? So it's a time all of us should start thinking it's an equal world, and if we start making it an equal world, we could make it a real equal world. So in that background, I'll start with the effort made by the Government of India. First of all, all of us know India lives in villages. And villages have a very, very peculiar psychology, especially for girls. One, girls could study up to the class for which school is in their village. They will not go to the next village. Okay, this is a psyche. Second, most of the parents, especially in rural India, feel girls can't handle themselves during menstruation. Okay, they need to be supported. So, government thought early childhood care is a challenge. And that was first thing government tried to address and started encouraging how our girls could participate in schools even outside their village. Of course, for urban girls, that's not a challenge because in most of the cities, you have got at least 12th standard school, if not degree college. Now, of course, I doubt even degree college will not be there, but girls living in the villages, girls living in the towns, that's a challenge. So parents needs to be convinced that there would be adequate care of their girls. And only when parents get that kind of confidence, they are willing to send their girls to schools. So this is what this program called Saksham Anganwadi did. And it ensured how early childhood care could be taken care of. And then government also had a parallel program, Right to Education. And this also motivated girls to go to school at a distance. Of course, this is a program open to everyone, and the idea was that we should improve participation of our young generation into the educations. What is happening, if you see the economic profile of India, there are more than 50% family who are hand to mouth and who feel any children they have got in the family should be an earning member, even if this fellow is doing petty jobs. Okay, they feel by getting education he is only or she is only wasting time. It is better they learn some skills and start earning even when they are 5 years, 6 years, or 10 years. So, Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan was another effort by the government addressed to both boys and girls to attract them to the school. In the same sequence, government also started with midday meal. And the idea was that when midday meal would be there, at least for the meal, at least for the food, parents will send children to the schools and then school could utilize their time in giving them education. And then a very successful campaign was launched, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. And this was made, I'm sorry, some part of the picture is not there. It's got sister, I'm sorry. But idea was that a lady can play several roles. She could be a daughter, mother, friend, sister, wife, grandmother, whatever. And simultaneously, she could be a successful career woman. A number of options, I think you can see over here, number of options are open and government made it a point that this should be pursued with full vigor, and that is how we could launch it. Then organization like CSIR came with program like Jigyasa, curiosity, which is the basic mantra of doing science. How to arouse your curiosity and how you could do it. So they tried to do several comic scenes, some science fictions, some virtual laboratory. An idea was that if we could attract both boys and girls to generate their curiosity, they could do science. Another program was launched especially for girls, Vigyan Jyoti. Now, right now, this program is very limited. It is open only to the girls of Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya. And the idea is we should convince not only girls but also their parents to encourage how they could do science. Also, we have had a challenge. If we see participation of women in sciences, then there are more women in biosciences, medicines, chemistry, and very few in hardcore engineering, physics, mathematics. So, those unrepresented areas should also be represented by girls. So that is how we started this program. This program is already into 5th year or 6th year of its operation, and we are motivating a lot of girls to do this. Also, there is a program, couple of other programs which we are doing. One is Children's Science Congress. I think in the morning, in the context of assessment, I was asked, but you see the participation. When we are selecting our participant for any program which is open to everyone, we are trying to take care that there is a good representation of both sexes. And Children's Science Congress is another program where students are encouraged to develop functional projects. They could see how an idea gets converted into a model, and a model gets converted into functional model. And every year this Science Congress is being organized. The only reward we give them, and it was discussed a little ago, how INYAS fellow could be connected with INSA fellows. Same kind of thing we are doing here, that those successful children who participate in Children's Science Congress are taken to Indian Science Congress, and there is an exclusive session with the leaders in a given subject with these children. And then, of course, I hope each one of you might have heard this very popular program called Inspire, which we are starting from class 6th. And again, we are organizing several boot camps. Idea is all to encourage participation of youngsters, how to infuse element of curiosity in them which can drive them to go little longer. Now, so many efforts have been made at the school level. Has it made a difference? Just see the literacy rate. The red bar shows females. And if you see the progress India has made in a period of 37 years, female literacy has grown from 26% to 66%. I think this is something you could be very proud of, that how female literacy has increased. And these are the school level programs which has made this difference. Sorry. And another indicator is class 12th result of any board. I have taken CBSE board, but it could be any board. Okay? And you see here that pass percentage of girl student is much higher, which is yet another indicator of the previous slide, how our literacy rate of female is increasing. Okay? And then I was trying to look at the data of IIT Gandhinagar, which I couldn't find. But then some other IITs, I could get the data. How female students are enrolling. Remember, engineering was a subject not opted by girls. And then there was a deliberate design that girls should participate. And even this is a data for the undergraduate level, not to be confused with other levels, undergraduate level. But now, even now, we are seeing that number of girls, although they have, if you compare it over a period of 4 years, 2017 to 2021, is nearly doubled. But it is nowhere near equality. And we need a huge push in these directions. Of course, IIT have considered some correction for the admission through JEE for females. And I hope in future, when you see the revised table, it would be little more better. And then there are girls who are admitted to different courses, and government is offering them scholarships, especially if their parents can't afford to study. Now, we have, this is a program done by All India Council of Technical Education. They support 4,000 girls. But this number is peanut for a country of our size. Okay, I was telling my daughter once when she was writing competitive examination after her 12th, I told her, although it's not correct, but let us assume that 1% of the age group lives in each part. So for example, 0 to 1 year, there is one child, 1%, 1 to 2 year, there is 1%. So each year represent 1%. And by that ratio, 1% of our children are writing class 12th examination. And compare, we are 1.4 billion people. So you can calculate how much is 1% and where does the 4,000 stands. Okay. So there are schemes because there are financial considerations. So number becomes limited. Now government has tried that how it should be offered. So they have added a criteria that only for those who can't afford to pay. Okay, so parental income has been added so that we can reduce number of candidates who are otherwise eligible. So this is a new design which we have started. And then also, as you all know, we are number one in terms of populations. Government has been encouraging for long to have a small family size. And what if there is a girl at the first child? Should the family be expanded or not? So this was one incentive offered to the parents who opted that there could be only one child. Of course, this poster says postgraduate studies, but it starts right from the school. So even if you are studying in schools, you get opportunity of fee waiver if you are only child of your parent. So this is another. And then when we come to the research level, then the department I belong to, Department of Science and Technology, we have got number of schemes. And this is the standard table, standard poster you can find on department website. Vigyan Jyoti I have already discussed. Other scheme I am going to discuss with you a little later. But what this program has done, in nearly 5 years, it has recruited 2,200 women scientists, new ones. Okay, and overall impact is that currently we are having 28% women researchers in this country. And in last 5 years, number of women researchers have doubled because of these schemes. So Now, just giving you a basic idea that woman scientist A, that is WOSA, how it is popularly known, we have opened to anybody who is coming to work in science. I'm sorry, I have not written here, but this is for those ladies, somebody in the panel mentioned, who have a break in career. Okay, so for family region, if you have gone out of science, and as we know, science is such a dynamic subject, if you have missed it for 3 years, then you are outdated. And if you are submitting proposal for any competitive grant, you are out because your knowledge is 3 year old. And in between, lot of progress has been made. So this scheme we had launched for those, I have written, desirous of returning to the mainstream. So career break is the precondition here. And then we would like to bring them separate programs so that there is no competition, no direct competition with the regular schemes. And on the same line, we came with Scientist B scheme. Here we are trying to address issues which are of direct societal relevance. So the first scheme, WOSA, is for doing any kind of science. But here, if you have picked up a societal challenge, and we have identified societal challenge could be in area of agriculture, health, food and nutrition, engineering, technology development. So these are primary things. There could be some more. There is no denying, but these are the most of the areas where we have tried to find out. And then, like Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology has come with a scheme called BioCare. And BioCare takes care of women researchers in biotechnology. And they have also identified their themes in terms of animal and marine biotechnologies, bioengineering or biomaterials, medical biotechnology, environmental biotechnology, bioenergy, plant and agriculture biotechnology. These are their themes. CSIR also has similar scheme called Aspire. And again, opportunity is given to those. Now, whether it is Women Scientist Scheme, WOSA, B, BioCare or Aspire, these are given to those ladies who are not in regular employment. Okay. And preference is given to those who are on the fence. And how they could be encouraged to come back to this system, that is the core idea. And then for those who are in regular career and would like to do some quality research, but are not finding grants on competitive research basis. So DST has taken so many conscious decisions. For example, we are running a program called Core Research Grants or Early Career or Startup Research Grants, which are open to everyone. Then we have realized that there are institutional differences, like the lady who was saying that she is working in a college and the IIT, they should not be compared. So why a person working in a degree college, desirous of doing research, be deprived on just competitive research basis? So DST came up with a new program which says central institution like IIT, ISER not eligible. Okay, only private universities, state university, colleges, only they are supposed to apply. It is just to give them an edge. Similarly, while core research grant is open to everyone, we would like a dedicated program for women researchers, because that is what we are looking for to bring in equality. And here we have got several programs. Two are the main program, fellowships and grants. Okay, I would encourage young faculty to go for fellowship and senior faculty for the research grants. Besides these two, we are also providing mobility grant. Now, mobility grant is primarily that a female researcher has to develop a rapport with an overseas laboratory where she could go and work for 6 months to 1 year. And this we are giving only to those who have gained a Serve Power Research Grant or Serve Power Fellowship. It's not open otherwise, but if you have got those fellowships, you can have an add-on by way of Serve Power Mobility Grant. And then we are also encouraging that those of you who are going beyond research, beyond academics, and would like to try with entrepreneurship. So there is a dedicated program for female researchers for entrepreneurships. And what I'm trying to tell you, all these programs are actually annual in characters. So each year you get a call of course, these posters may show some date. Don't get confused with those dates. These are annual, so anytime you could. So idea is how your idea could be translated, how your research could be translated. And if you have any acumen for entrepreneurship, if we could encourage that. Of course, those of you who are not in science but are in entrepreneurship and would like to adopt something, what we are saying, location specific activity. It could be in any sector, agriculture, forest management, energy, engineering, micro enterprise, or any kind of activity. So most of it we are looking from rural India. That is where we are trying to attract them from. So we are creating Women Technology Park for that purpose. And then similarly, All India Council of Technical Education, they are also running a program on technology development and utilization of women as researchers. So here idea, all these three programs, and in fact one more, Women Entrepreneurship Quest. It's done by Indo-US Forum. Idea is that if you are going beyond academics, trying to convert your research into a meaningful product, what are the special incentives being offered by the government? And I would encourage that if any of you would like to go for this thing, this is another model. I think Shubha was discussing what are the options beyond PhD besides academics. Okay, so this is probably one of those areas where you could work. And then of course there are postdoctoral fellowships which are again made for the women researchers. We have got NPDF, which is open to everyone, and then we have got WISE. One more thing I must tell you, if you feel confident, please apply for the program which is open to everybody. And what we have taken a decision in SARB, I cannot vouch for other department, but in SCRB, that suppose you have applied for core research grant and your application is unsuccessful, then we shall ask you, can it be considered for gender specific program of same nature? Okay, so if you have applied for NPDF, you are not getting it there, we'll ask you, should it go to WISE? And only after receiving your consent, it would be considered. Okay, so this is a program. So my suggestion to you would be that be more competitive. And also, if you wish, this program should be utilized by them who cannot make it to the national competition, then you are creating space for others. Okay, so you are helping your own fraternity that way. Besides DST, there are postdoctoral fellowship from UGC also. Okay, and it comes in different names. So Radhakrishnan Fellowship or some other, there are number of fellowship being offered by UGC which you must explore. And then we have this fellowship called Wiser, which is provided by Indo-German Science and Technology Center. And here the idea is, if women researchers could be connected to an existing Indo-German R&D projects, so that they could make good use of the research being done by senior researchers. Okay, and she could also contribute. Now, Wiser is not the only one. There are number of other programs being offered by Indo-US Forum, by Indo-French Center, and many of them are encouraging participation of women researchers for short-term exposure. So each year you go for 3 to 6 months. The only attraction in this Wiser program is you also get a project grants, which is not there in other programs, which are primarily mobility linked. And then for successful ladies who get elected to any of the National Academy, we have got Women Excellence Award, and here idea is to provide them research grants without writing a project. That's the award. So if you get elected to INSA, if you get elected to NASI, if you get elected to IS, if you get elected to Indian National Academy of Engineering, if you get elected to Agricultural Academy, you could apply for Women Excellence Award. Now, these are all which we are doing at individual level. There are a couple of schemes which we are doing at institutional level. One of them is promoting women universities or women colleges. Okay, how to inculcate research in women-only universities or women-only colleges. So we have come up with a special scheme called CURI, which stands for Consolidation of University Research for Innovation and Excellence in Women. And here we are providing a small equipment grant besides the regular project grants. So not very big equipment, but smaller equipment could be considered. Second scheme which we are trying is Gati. An idea here is institution may be asked to go for gender balance, and those institutions which has better representation of both sexes should be given more money. More money means more research grants. Okay, and this is something we have started only recently, and we have also asked aggregating agencies like NAC, like NIRF, if they could also include it as one of the parameters while ranking an institute, whether they are maintaining a gender balance. So both these two schemes, one scheme is of course asking, CURI scheme is asking that women-specific university, women-specific colleges should come up and seek a research grant. Here we are giving grants to those who are maintaining healthy balance. So I think this is all I have got today. And only thing I could be proud of so many torchbearers. Now imagine their life in a world dominated by males. They proved themselves. Okay, in fact, I would ask each one of you to read how India did in science and technology when we were under colonialism. Okay, there was no research grant, there was no appreciation of the work you are doing, and still we got number of scientists who rose. C.V. Raman, of course, everyone knows because of Nobel Prize. But then there are a number of scientists who did research in that period. Of course, when you compare your position where research is so easy and even your papers are accepted with some small moderation, imagine their papers were just thrown. And of course, they didn't have the communication facility like we are having. They used to send it and then getting response after 4 months, 5 months, 6 months that your paper has this problem and how it is rejected. So imagine the kind of science they have done. And similarly, these ladies, of course, these are 11 chairs, science chairs, which we have created across the country after them. But they worked in a platform which was absolutely dominated by male. And then they created their mark. So here, I think we were talking about role model in the morning. So there could be several role model, several. And these could be just one of them. And then in the morning, actually, there were some questions which were asked, so I would like to cover those questions. I'm sorry, madam, that time I didn't took your question very seriously. In full perspective, participation of women in assessments is mandatory now. Okay, so each committee of Department of Science and Technology have women representatives, irrespective of the fact whether there are applications from women candidates or not. But again, I must say that participation is still not up to the level which we are expecting. Our expectation would be that there should be no reservation and researchers should qualify as expert on their personal merit rather than anything else. Okay, but as a department, we have to do several corrections, and those corrections include gender. And if you would like to know what are the other corrections, we need to take care of geographies, we need to take care of parentage of institutions from where those experts comes, but still we try to maintain conflict of interest. Other questions which was discussed, that you are becoming prisoner of your own choices by carrying load of expectation from the family. Okay, this is something quite debatable, but I think communication, as was mentioned, is the key. You need to communicate to your family what science you are doing. I often ask researchers, could you tell your mother what did you do last month? And was she convinced that you have made some contribution to the knowledge system of the country? Or is she excited about the project you are doing? Or she is looking forward for a product which you are going to develop? Talk to your sibling. They are your peers. They understand much better than one generation elder. Okay, can you convince them? Most often, problem comes, we are not talking about our works even to the researchers working in next laboratory. And that is a communication gap, which results into trust deficit. Now, unless we correct it, why our family will not support? If they know that you are doing something meaningful and by your work, there would be some correction the way society lives today. If you could make them convinced that how you are generating new knowledge, or with the application of new knowledge which has been generated, you are developing a new product. If you could do that, I'm sure your family would encourage you. One question was raised about age relaxation criteria. Now, we are working on a new science, technology, and innovation policy. And when we are talking about gender, we are talking that introducing a new concept. One is called biological age. All of us have got some age. And one of the new term we are coining is academic age. How long you are active in the academics, that should be counted. So if the new science, technology and innovation policy is approved by the government, you will hear this more in practice. Okay, because one thing I must say, when we are planning a policy, we have a very nice picture. But when that policy is implemented, there are a lot of roadblocks. Okay, and people generally are not convinced with any change. Okay, so we have kept this thing in mind, how biological age of any individual could be different from the academic age. Also, we are trying that a couple must be posted in same city, if not in same institution. So if both of them are eligible, because marriage is one such case where people are going to are moving out of science. Okay, so because they don't get new options so easily. So what if you are working here, you get married, you carry your post to another city where you are going. Only thing is you need to get attached to an institutions. Okay, and if you can do that, there would be no problem. I think this is what the question I took for myself from the morning session. But if you have got any questions, I am open to that.
A very nice presentation, sir. So a couple of questions, or rather queries. I'm a recipient of DST Boys Cast Fellow, and I have reaped the Boys Cast. I think that I was the last member of that particular program, and the last recipient also for that program. It was quite competitive, but that definitely changed my career and even my perspective of looking at things. So I think that was an eye opener, because in the previous session I stopped at getting transferred to this. So that really changed. But sir, one small observation that I would like to put in is, first of all, you are giving an opportunity, that is great, but 1 year is too small for a researcher. What I personally feel is, by the time I went there, settled down, got really into the work, my time was done. So maybe you can think in the lines of the ones who are doing good or who want to continue. Maybe you can offer us another 6 months or in a year of an extension. This is just out of the this thing. If you can consider, that will be good, because this exposure really helps. My second question now.
Could I respond to this before you take up second?
I'll just put across the questions, okay, because they are interconnected. So this was 10 years back. So I was 12 to 13 in US doing my Boy Scouts fellowship. And after that, now you come up with a new program called as a SIRE. That is again giving an opportunity for the researcher to go abroad for a 6 months course. So that is also good, sir. I think in one of the, when you're talking, you're giving the presentation, you use the word saying that if a woman is out of the science for 2 or 3 years or 4 years, she's really almost outdated. So I think the same logic applies to the academia also, because if there's a long gap, our field is so fast emerging that 10 years is a lot of gap. So we as researchers should get an opportunity to go back again, at least for a shorter duration, for a shorter term. So we do not want to compete on the first timers, but again there is a clash. So you're giving an opportunity, but there is a age bar. You cut off the SIRE program at 45. And now if you go to the UGC guidelines, because for the first time, there are no problems, sir. You get selected immediately, or university is relieving you. But if you want to go for a follow-up, there is a gap and a break that is given. But when you say 45 years, UGC says you should complete 7 years in a position of associate and a professor. And that is after 12 years of your service, you're going to reach there. So practically, when I'm there ready for it, I am, out of that bar of sire. So these are two agencies. One is which is governing. We follow the UGC guidelines. But again, the same contradiction is there, because for us to go for sire, we need to get the approval of the UGC. So I think these agencies have to come together and work out something so that it is not contradicting one another. So this is one aspect which I've already raised, I won't say a complaint, but a concern to the UGC, that do not give us a binding of 45 years. How does 45 years define the ability of a person to learn? So if you can do something on those lines, that will be good. So I think the SIRE program, we are expecting a notification again. So that will be a good initiative if you can take. That is for the second timers, not for the first timers.
Okay, so I'll take
Yeah.
your last line first. And I would say that each day there is a new learning. And even I am a learner today. Okay? And now starting from your first thing, boycast, I think any of you who have been awarded, she is one. One of our prestigious program which we had, that anywhere it could take our young doctoral candidate, postdoctoral candidate, and they could do PDF anywhere in the world. Unfortunately, because of a bad experience in the US, because India was not prepared that time, we had to fight an IPR case. What happened that one of the Boy Scouts fellow who worked in US laboratory was returning with his sample and was jailed because the mentor said that those samples were the property of the institute he was working in. Okay, and that was a very bad episode, and we need to cut down the program. Of course, now when we are launching these programs called Wiser or Indo-French or Serb Mobility or any of them, we are taking due care that IP rights of our researchers are protected. And they should be allowed for carrying on the work which they have initiated. Well, I'm sure, ma'am, कि when you got awarded this fellowship, you knew it was for 1 year. Okay? And as I said little ago, I said it for the men, but it is true for the human being. We all are greedy. We are not satisfied. Why only 1 year? You see, we need to plan. I think in the morning also it was discussed a lot. Planning is important. If you are going out for a year, you know that I am going out for a year. Don't look for extension. If you get it, fantastic. It's not that we are not giving extension. Blindly, there is no stoppage. If you have started something, in mid-course, you got something more exciting to work upon, and you want to add scope of your work, you're welcome. But then, you should see the other side. Each fellowship costs us. Any extension puts extra burden, and you are reducing that opportunity to be given to a new candidate. Okay, because these financial resources are limited. So whether we give extension or whether we give that fellowship to someone new is a choice of the department. Okay, but if we are convinced that you have got something exciting, more exciting than you originally thought, something you have found midway, or something which could help us solving a given challenge, we are willing to consider extension. Now coming to your second questions, of course each agency behaves in their own way, and what SERB has proposed, some timelines may not perfectly match with the UGC. When we were conceiving this plan, we thought for mid-career researchers, there is no opportunity to go out on a short sabbatical and learn something and come back. Of course, we have got number of bilateral programs, number of multilateral programs, number of regional programs, which provides opportunity to our researchers to collaborate. And I would encourage you that please do participate in any of those programs. So you could tie up with a partner, look for collaborative calls whenever it comes, and apply. And then you get a 3-year, 4-year window where not only you, but also your students could go and work. So that is a long way sustaining the partnership. Okay. If you are just going there, getting extended, it may not do much, except some personal benefit to you, like skill development or exposure to that environment, carrying the best practices to your laboratory. But you need to grow this thing. I hope I have answered your question. Yeah, please.
So recently we all came to know that government has cleared National Research Foundation bill in the parliament.
No, by the cabinet.
By the cabinet, yeah. So how this is going to affect this sub grants? Because we recently saw on the sub website that any proposals after June 15 has been postponed indefinitely until further notice. So, and with the, I think what we have heard is that with this new bill coming up, it is going to have some 70% of industry partnership for the funding and 30% of the government. So whether it will be same on the line of current the sub is working, or it's going to be a complete different change in the system. And also in the follow up that many of us who are sitting here may have applied for the sub either CRG or SRG grants. So how that is also going to taken into consideration.
Well, thank you. This is one of the newest questions we are facing these days. I think, let me first tell you why we needed NRF. In India, we have got 7 or 8 science departments: DST, DBT, Earth Sciences, Electronics, Space, Atomic Energy. But then, remaining departments, which are servicing the country, they also require research. Whether it is Petroleum Ministry or Coal Ministry or Textile Ministry or Women and Child Ministry, anything, Environment Ministry, whatever you call it, they also require research. So DST put up a bill, internal bill to the government, suggesting that why not each ministry be asked to apportion some part of their allocation for research, so that we could take sector specific research and support them. Okay. Now, obviously, nobody wants extra expenditure, and even ministries were a little bit reluctant. Why should they contribute when somebody else is already doing that? Okay. So, finally, government agreed that 2% of the budget allocations of those departments which are not doing research or which are not encouraging research should be dedicated for research. But then they don't have the mechanism to support research. So then we thought we could create an organization which will take care of this thing. Okay. But when we were discussing it in the parliament, with the parliamentarians, with the political and administrative leadership, we convinced them, or they convinced us, that what SERB is doing for DST, NRF could do for the country. So it was felt that SERB, if NRF is coming, SERB becomes redundant. So if you have seen the approval, cabinet approval of NRF, it says activities of SERB would be subsumed in NRF.
Yes.
Okay, so what you are getting is a temporary pause, but government has already given us 2,000 crores in current financial year for NRF, and next year it would be 10,000 crores. And the idea is we could continue to support research through NRF, and most of these SERB scheme would be retained. Why I'm saying most? Because change is a change.
Yes.
Okay, and NRF would be little different in structure as compared to SERB. It would be more like corporate. So they will, instead of having secretary SERB or other office bearer, they would be having chief executive officer, CEO, and those kind of portfolios. So their outlook would be a bit different. But because we are the administrative ministry, even for NRF, we feel pretty confident that most of the schemes of SERB would be continued with little or no moderation. Okay, and what you are getting is only a temporary pause, and I hope in the next session of the parliament, which is starting 20th of July, NRF bill will be tabled, and if approved by the parliament in this financial year, you will have NRF.
So this was newest question. I have an old question regarding disbursal of fellowships. So I understand that paperwork is needed and the process is there and everything so forth and so far. So, but the seriousness came up more when we had this survey that was for our white paper that was for unused workforce. To our surprise, people even left academia for this reason that there was no proper dispersal of fellowship and they could not survive for a very long period. I understand that the processes need to be taken place at the institute as well as the funding body. So could there be some kind of channelization between the two bodies so that the students do not have to suffer? Can we do something to improvise that?
I must say this is something very serious, and DST is deeply concerned if fellowship of any student is delayed for reasons not specific to the candidate. Okay, of course, what is happening in the background, you must understand that we are moving from a physical system to digital system. And each year we gain some more wisdom. And we are improvising our processes. And current process says that institutions need to return all unutilized grant to the DST, which many institutions, including IITs, are finding it difficult. Okay, and this has caused a kind of roadblock. Okay, of course, if any student is getting independent fellowship, I don't think there is any problem. Problem comes with the students who are attached to some projects which are funded. And here my request would be to the faculty under whose charge this project is, that this is a dynamic process, we need to adapt, and if government requires institution to open zero balance account, so we are going to do one more change actually. Right now, until last year, the system was that government used to give grants to the institutions and institutions were giving utilization certificates. Can you imagine that for the financial year ending in March, institute were giving utilization certificate by October, November, December, January, February, or next year March. And then, unfortunately, students who were participating in those projects were suffering. What we are trying to correct now, DST or other funding agency will not give grant to institution. They will give grants to their bank. And institution will be only given authorization. You are eligible to debit up to this much limit in this particular head in this project. And that way, we are trying to address challenge of UCSE, which is not coming on time. Because it would be a direct debit, we hope there would be not a formal requirement of UCSE. Of course, we would ask university to make a statement how much they have spent on a given project. But since we have better control through the bank, and that is why we are asking institutions to go for zero balance accounts. I'm really sorry for students who are suffering in this process, and we need cooperation from the institutions to handle these situations. One more thing I must say, this is not something coming from DST. This is coming from Ministry of Finance. And this is for everybody whosoever is receiving government grants. So I think only cooperation in this thing could help. And if any student who is receiving fellowship in DBT mode is facing problem, that you can always tell us and we'll try to correct it as early as possible.
Talk about the Gati program that you all have started. I think it's an excellent program and thank you for doing that. IIT Delhi has done that, was one of the institutes who took up this assessment. And what we realized, the reason I am appreciating this is that it was a self-assessment process. So when we did this exercise, first of all, to tell people that we are asking data, and this is internal. Remember, DST didn't ask us for anything. Of course, we submitted a report, but the first exercise was to do it internally. Just to talk to staff and tell them that give us data, statistics, which should be there in public, it was very difficult. Because that's when we realized that we don't have proper ways of data keeping. That was the most apparent thing. What was not apparent and that came out was all the unconscious biases that we have in our system. If you ask someone, is there a bias, in a department, if you ask the HOD or even the faculty that have you seen a bias to a female faculty or a female colleague, the first answer is no, it doesn't happen in my institute or it doesn't happen in my place. It doesn't happen in my family, it doesn't happen in my region at all, right? And we truly believe that because we're not doing it consciously. We're doing it unconsciously. And this Gati program actually asked us to look at all that information and identify these unconscious biases that we are having and to improvise on that. Because, we do, as you were saying, there is a mandate that there must be females in a committee. All the paper, if you look at it, it's there, right? There is a and IIT Delhi has been putting, even we have deans and associate deans in female positions, in those positions as well. So we are doing our job, but still nothing is changing. Why? Because of the unconscious bias. What we're not doing is that when you put a woman in that position, how do you change the attitude of staff who's going to support? And we were having this discussion in the morning. If a male person goes there and he's well dressed and he's at a position, the staff is like salam sir, and they'll do it. If a female goes there, maybe my age and in just a very casual dress, I'll have to say 5 times, ye kar denge, ye kar denge, ye kar denge, ye kar denge, right? And then it'll be done. Not because they don't want to do it. Probably they're not groomed like that, right? So conditioning is important. So this Gati actually allowed us to highlight all these issues and to come up with policies. So in that 9 months of time, we analyzed all of it, and we submitted a report, but that report became not important for us. What became important is that how do we actually
Realization.
exactly, and that self-realization when it occurs, that nahi main bhi ye karti hu. I also do that. It's very important. So thank you for that. I think it's an excellent program, and now I think you should expand it to other places as well. I think.
Oh yes, in the round one, we had select institutions, what we are calling pilot mode, and we intend to, yeah.
I was in the Gati assessment panel, and it was the women who started that at DST. They are remarkable. It was my first time interacting with them, and they had got a bunch of us who were supposed to assess those applications to be trained by British Council, through British Council and Athena's one representative. And many people think that it's these institutes of national importance which will do very well. What was very striking was that some of the smaller places had really put in effort in collecting data. It was really striking as to how much effort they had put in data collection and trying to understand their own ecosystem. So my request to you, it'll going to come out of the pilot stage. I think what she said, we as people who are reading the applicants, each of them is like 60 pages, okay? So you have to spend a lot of time reading them carefully and sort of look through all the sections. What we realize that, and if you're part of some institution, do request your institution to participate in it, because it is a reflective process which I think can really make the environment better. In the UK, it's like it's got grades and stars and whatever else associated with it. But I think the primary role is to turn the lens upon yourself.
Thank you, ma'am, for these additional remarks on the Gati program. And any of you would like to, and if I could, yeah.
Are there any other specific schemes for the state universities apart from SURE? Because that was advertised only once and then...
Actually, that was our pilot actually, that we were asking only state universities, private university and colleges to submit proposal. And response was beyond our expectations. We got more than 4,000 proposals. And even to get them assessed is a task. And we could finally support only 10% out of that. And which is also a major discouragement to those who couldn't make it. Okay, but our idea is that we have got it, and we would be coming up with more such programs for our tier 2 and tier 3 institutions.
More such programs other
Yes.
than the SURE.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much once again.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,